This is Sergeant Charles Dyer on video log 3 part 1. The date is 23rd of April. Time on deck is 18:53. On this video log I'm going to go over some of the illegal, immoral, and unprofessional acts that have been committed against my family by different government agencies. I'm going to go over the personnel and what they did. The purpose of this log is to record these acts that have been committed against my family in the case that I am incarcerated, killed, or am unable for some other reason to give my side of the story. Alright, now I've got these set up in a top 10 countdown, so I'll just start with number 10 on here. Number 10 wasn't such a huge deal. Violated one of my rights of the Constitution, my Bill of Rights. Judge Carl Lamar of the Stevens County Courthouse. He gave me, in my eyes, a excessive bail, but looking at what the DA asked for, it was not so excessive. The district attorney was asking for $1 million bail because I went threat to the community, a flight risk, all of these things. Now, I've never committed a crime, never been convicted of crime. I have a perfect record. I have a speeding ticket when I was 18, I think. I'm 30 now. I have dual honorable discharges from the military, not so much as a negative counseling in the military, secret security clearance, worked for the sheriff's department. I've kept my nose clean. However, they thought that necessary to give me a $150,000 bail to keep me from running. And I don't have $150,000 laying around, so I had to rely on my family, my parents. They put their property in their home, the farm, up for mortgage, and had to give $15,000 cash they won't get back no matter what to a bail bond agent. So that's number 10. Number 9. Officer Rusty Smith of the Duncan Police Department. In November, I went over to, and let me back up real quick, I don't live in the city, I live out in the country, 9 miles northeast of Duncan, about 3 miles from Duncan Lake. So, that being said, over at Duncan Lake, they have what appears to be public dumping for trash. They've got a large trash bin, and then all around the lake they have the little white, look like burn barrels, like the 55-gallon drums where you deposit trash. Nowhere around the lake does it say not to put trash there. On the eastern side of the lake, nothing says anything about not depositing your trash. I put 3 bags of trash in these burn barrels. Now, the city workers that were over there found my name in some of the trash, and so I don't know, they knew who I was or whatever. They contacted Rusty Smith of the Duncan Police Department. He's the lake ranger out there, and they got all the trash that they could find around that side of the lake, 13 bags, large hefty bags of trash. They drove 3 miles outside of lake property, backed up. I watched them with my own eyes, and then I videotaped what they put out there. They backed onto my property, and they dumped all these bags of trash, and I bagged them. This was just loose trash that they dumped all over my yard, including but not limited to broken glass, used condoms, all kinds of nastiness from over at the lake. And I bagged that up and paid a guy to haul it off. So, number 9. Number 8, Brett Williams of the ATF. Now this guy, I've sat down and I've talked to him, and he doesn't seem like a horrible human being. However, what bothered me about him here was when I had my bail hearing, my federal bail hearing, he got on the stand and told the judge that I had illegal equipment in my home. That illegal equipment was a silencer for an M4 rifle, and that I was not allowed to have that silencer. I wasn't licensed to have that silencer. Now the facts behind the case were that that silencer was for an airsoft rifle, and it was given to me by YouTube user Ilchemist07, and I actually have the receipt where that was bought off of eBay, and that receipt was given to them. to prove that it was a silencer. But he got in front of a judge and told him that it was a real, or he didn't say it was a real silencer. He said he was checking, but he said it was a silencer that I had for an M4. Later, we went back and looked that he did know at that time that it wasn't a real silencer, and he had told my family he had it sent to Washington, D.C. to be checked, when in actuality on the report it said that he shined a flashlight into it and knew immediately that it was not a real silencer. But he didn't say that at bail, my bail hearing, and I was eventually denied bail and had to sit in jail for 3 months and wait for my trial, which I was found not guilty of anyway. Alright, number 7, Jason Hicks. He's the current district attorney at the Stevens County Courthouse in this district. Don't have a lot of problem with him. I actually tried my best to get him elected here because he was the best candidate. He just got elected at the beginning of this year. My problem with him, I had a lot of respect with him till this, and I can't speak too much about this because it's involving a current case. However, he helped to suppress evidence for 4 months that a judge finally forced him to give us, and while we had it, we found evidence that pretty much shows beyond a shadow of doubt that my wife did set me up and plan on making false allegations against me. And now that we have found it, he's trying to do everything he can to suppress it and keep the court from using it so a jury can't hear it. So he's not looking for the truth, he's looking for a prosecution, which he's a prosecutor, what do you expect? Number 6, Audrey Caldwell. He was the U.S. attorney for my federal trial. During my bail hearing, he had told the judge that I was a member of the militia and that they had an underground where they could sweep people away and they would never be found again. Now, he was saying this as if he knew this as a fact. The problem is, I'm sitting here saying, wow, he knows something that I don't. Number one, I'm not a member of any militia. Just because I've trained with, different groups, I'm not a member of a militia. There is no one here that would join me. So, he also told the judge that I was a threat to the community, even though I've never been arrested or convicted for a violent crime in my life. He mentioned my speeches to the judge, so I guess I don't have a First Amendment right to speak my mind and say what I want because it will be used against me judicially to keep me from getting a bail hearing or whatever they want to use it against. Yes, and while I was in federal detention, he came to me with a deal. It was about February or March of 2010, and he told me that if I would admit to the crime of failing to register an M203 grenade launcher, that I would be home by Christmas. Now, I told him to shove off a little bit stronger than that, and because of that, about 3 weeks later, my roommate was removed from my cell, my cellmate in the detention facility, and then I learned that Audrey Caldwell was now going to use him as a witness against me because he convinced this guy to roll over on me, basically, and say that I admitted all of my crimes to him. Of course, there's a little thing about they offered him a little time off to say this. So they did that, and because I found some stuff in the guy's trash that he left and made it known, they decided not to use him against me because he had no credibility whatsoever, and it was just a ploy that they were trying to use to scare me into admitting to a crime that I did not commit.
Also, killing Val for $5,000.
Oh yes, I was just informed that just reminded to inform you that he also had the roommate say that I was going to pay him $5,000 to kill my wife. First of all, why am I going to pay someone $5,000 that's going to be in prison for a minimum of the next 8 years or so to pay my wife, or to kill my wife? Second of all, I didn't have $5,000 to pay him in the first place. So, number 5, Brett Burns. This is the old district attorney that got voted out this year, at the beginning of the year. All right, that evidence that the current district attorney is suppressing, the old district attorney suppressed for 11 months. We asked for it over and over and over again, and he suppressed it and suppressed it and suppressed it. Probably because he knew damn well that that would make him lose this whole thing. He also asked for $1 million bail on the grounds that I was a threat to the community, flight risk, all of the normal BS that the federal prosecution also was saying. He signed the protective order that had my girlfriend's daughter taken from her so that she would have to leave the state and not be able, he was hoping that we would get into some kind of fight or something and get split up so that she wouldn't come back down here and get on the stand for me, because she was present during the time that I allegedly raped my daughter, and she's my alibi, and they didn't want that. During my preliminary hearing, whenever we were going over the rape case, he all of a sudden tells the judge, oh yeah, and this is 7 months after I got arrested, and because I refused to admit to this, he says, oh yeah, the grenade launcher, I want to charge him for that. And the judge says, well, there are some questions of double jeopardy there. He was found not guilty. He says, yeah, that's right, I want to charge him for possession of, what was it? Possession of stolen property, that's right. And the judge says, well, okay, I'll allow it. So now I'm facing the grenade launcher charge again, even though I was found not guilty and proved that I didn't even know that it was a 40 millimeter, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Okay, that pretty much wraps up the first 5. I'll put the next 5 in part 2. Alright, this is video log 3 of Sergeant Charles Allen Dyer, part 2. And I had said that I went over the first 5. I believe I went over the first 6 agencies that committed acts against my family. Alright, I'm on number 4 here. This is the Stevens County Sheriff's Office. I'm not putting blame on any one person. Definitely not Sheriff McKinney, although I could place blame on him, but I try to support him the best I can. I think it's very important for people to support their sheriff, especially if they're a constitutionalist, and mine is, although he has trouble standing up for what he should a lot. Alright, and the first thing I'll go over is what happened with the sheriff. I told on one of the videos before, I think in log 2, I don't remember which part, in one of the middle ones, where the sheriff had called me and lied to me, saying that there was a protective order to take my girlfriend's daughter, trying to provoke me into a fight. I ended up not falling for it, and then he admitted there was no protective order. The next thing, officer or deputy Lawson Guthrie, which he's a Marine, I have respect for him as well. I don't have any hatred for him, but he did hold open a door and basically force entry to allow Abigail Wilson of the DHS to enter my home. He himself and his other deputy did not enter my home, just the DHS worker. This next one, I don't know who to place any blame on here, because I'm not sure who exactly did it other than my wife. I don't know which deputy did this, but and I don't remember the date. I can get that if anybody wants it. I went to a court hearing, and whenever I exited the courthouse, my wife and my girlfriend got into an argument about 20 meters away from me. I was at the top of the court steps, they were at the bottom, and I finally told my girlfriend, hey, don't worry about it, you know, we've got video evidence against her, she admitted to this stuff, let's go. And my wife freaks out, you know, screaming that I have no right, it's illegal to videotape her, which it's not, it's a one-party state here. And she comes running up the court steps, starts poking me in the face, poking me in the chest, screaming at me, F word every 2 seconds. You know, what's it like having everybody think you fucked your daughter, just going nuts on me, right? And I turned away from her 45 degrees, crossed my arms, told my girlfriend to go get the deputies. Deputies came out. We went inside. I went upstairs with them. She went downstairs with them. She told them that I assaulted her, even though she ran to me, ran up the stairs, started poking me in the face, that I assaulted her. I ran to her and assaulted her. Now, my mother was there and witnessed it and knew better, told them better. My girlfriend was there and witnessed it and told them what happened. But poor little Valerie, they believed her and they arrested me for violation of protective order. About 2 hours later, after they finally did some investigation, they found out that Valerie was lying and that I did not violate my protective order, and they released me. Actually, I think it was more like maybe an hour and a half. This is after they fingerprinted me. I was in oranges again, getting ready to go back to a cell. Actually, they were going to stick me in a cell naked because I refused to answer their questions. I wasn't cooperating with them. I wonder why. The next thing is, I won't say the deputy's name. I worked with him a long time ago. I don't want to have any hard feelings against him either. However, whether he is lying or he is mistaken, I'm not sure. But he says that whenever I was arrested for the child abuse, incest, child molestation, whichever it was in the beginning, that I signed a waiver and refused to speak to them. Now, I did not refuse to speak with them. I would have answered any questions that they wanted, just like with the M203, although that was, I guess, not really willingly talking to them, but I'll get into that here later. And if you don't believe me on that, that I didn't sign anything, which they don't have anything signed, they had my girlfriend in their custody for 8 hours. 8 hours after I got arrested. You know how many questions they asked her about the rape charge? None. Did they ask her if she was present on January 2nd when this alleged rape happened? No. Did they ask her how my daughter acts around me? No, they didn't ask her anything. My parents, who were apparently in the home and present when I allegedly raped my daughter. You know how many questions I asked them? None. Zero. They don't care. There was no investigation done whatsoever. They took the allegation and they went on a witch hunt. No investigation. And that moves me to number 3. This is an evil, evil person. Abigail Wilson of the Stevens County, it's in Duncan, but Stevens County Department of Human Services. Most places it's called Child Protective Services. This woman, she has lied on an affidavit protective order to kidnap my girlfriend's daughter. She put on there that her daughter was in imminent risk of danger, I believe it was. Imminent threat. Now, we have an audio recording of her with us saying there was no imminent threat to this child. But then she turns right around and signs on an affidavit that there is imminent threat. She made a statement to me that the Department of Human Services, CPS, have the power to supersede the Constitution. They can overrule the Constitution. They can overrule a jury verdict. They can overrule our rule of law. And whenever I told him, no, you don't have the right to do that, she makes a statement, well, that's your opinion, Mr. Dyer. She also told me that if I admitted to being a child molester and took the voluntary classes, that they would not get any court involvement with me as far as my girlfriend's daughter, and she can keep her child, I can stay in the home, no problem. But if I refuse to admit to being a child molester, that they're going to take the child, which I refused to be a child. I refused to admit to it, and they ended up taking the child, which you can see in video log 2. I don't remember which part. I think that was pretty much the whole thing. Video log 2 told all about it. Also, she used the sheriff's department to enter my home. They forced entry into my home whenever I was there, telling them I didn't want her to enter without some kind of warrant or paperwork that she can be there. I didn't even know who she was. You know, I couldn't confirm that she was even DHS at that time. She came in and was telling me things like, you did this, you know, I don't care about a jury verdict or if you're found guilty or not, it doesn't matter to me, you did this. Telling my girlfriend he did this, he's a confirmed child molester, I'm showing you the evidence, he's a confirmed. Now, they didn't show her any evidence at all. You know, once again, beside the fact she was present here in the home on the day that this supposedly happened. But you know, he's a confirmed child molester. You have to leave him. If you don't, and you try to have a family, we're going to follow you to every state you ever go to for the rest of your life. We're going to take your daughter from you. Basically, we're just going to harass you forever. Oh. That brings me to number 2. And boy, talk about an evil, evil man. This guy is a judge at the Stevens County Courthouse. His name is Brent Russell. Where to start with him? I think I'll just start with the double jeopardy, all right? He is allowing the state to charge me with having the grenade launcher that I was found not guilty of in federal court. All that they did is they changed the name of it from failing to register a destructive device is what I got found not guilty of, and now they're charging me with possession of stolen property, even though I already proved that I didn't know, first of all, that it was even a 40 millimeter. So we'll go with that. And then I don't understand why he did this other than the fact that he's extremely biased against me. During the DHS hearing, whenever they were trying to take Amanda's daughter from her, he comes outside and is talking to the attorney saying if she doesn't sign this, they're going to take her child, which I talked about in video log 2. And, you know, he looks at me and he says, you know, what are you looking at? You got some kind of problem with me. We get into an altercation. He yells at me to stay out of this or I'm going to take her child. So, okay, because I'm helping Amanda stand up for her rights, because he's not able to run over her like everyone else in this county, he's going to automatically take her child. And eventually he did. He signed the order to have the child kidnapped from Tennessee, 900 miles away, because I was a danger to her. I guess I was going to rape her by mail or something. I'm not really sure. I spoke earlier about the altercation I had with my wife in front of the courthouse where she was poking me in the face and yelling at me. I tried to get a protective order on her that day. This judge denied it. I have no idea why, but he denied it. After she got me arrested, poking me in the face, that's assault. And he doesn't care because he's biased against me. Now, this is the same judge also who signed a protective order from Valerie to me. Now, obviously, she's not that afraid of me if she's running up to me, poking me in the face and stuff. But she had a protective order put on me. Now, here's the protective order. I know it's kind of grainy, so you can't see all of this, but this is the protective order here. I was with this woman for 12 years. During this time, never did she ever make any kind of report to law enforcement, or anyone else for that matter, that I ever tried to threaten her, harm her, or did anything physically violent toward her whatsoever. However, after I was arrested for child molestation, she goes down and files this protective order saying that I caused or attempted to cause serious physical harm to her, that I threatened her, that I harassed her, and that I have stalked her. I don't know how I was stalking her, because I was always around with my girlfriend, but you know, maybe my girlfriend stalked her with me, I guess. I'm not sure. And in here it says that, please describe why you were making this charge, and she puts charges against him concerning my daughter about rape and sodomy, and about his militia he is around and in, threatening me all the time, saying it would be very easy to kill me and bury me somewhere. I am scared of him and what he might do to me, and also my daughter. Interesting. But anyway, because of this, there was a protective order hearing that I was not allowed to go to and defend myself. So an emergency protective order, or a final protective order, was issued against me, stripping me of my Second Amendment rights until the year 2013. I have not been convicted of a crime. I am not violent. And because my wife, the same one who was making the allegations against me falsely for sexual abuse, made false allegations against me for this protective order, and my Second Amendment rights have been stripped away. Now, Second Amendment rights given to you by... Now there's the question. I am one of the believers that the Founding Fathers believed that that right was given to us by our Creator to defend ourselves. So a right, not a privilege, a right cannot be stripped from you. However, mine has. Tyranny much? So, that is Brent Russell, the judge at Stevens County Courthouse. Looks like I only have about less than a minute on this one, so the last one I'm going to save for the most evil, conniving person I have ever dealt with in my entire life. And he works for the FBI. We'll come back to that one on the next one. Alright, this is video log 3, part 3 of Sergeant Charles Dyer's video logs. And this whole section here will be for one individual. This man works for the FBI, and his name is Agent Gene Poole. Okay, here's what I'll start off with. I'll start off with the first time I ever met this man. After I got arrested for, I think initially it was incest, I got pulled into an office with Agent Gene Poole, and he informed me that they found an M203 grenade launcher in my home. Now, I told him, obviously, no, you did not find an M203 in my home. And, of course, he said he did, whatever. He started questioning me about it. I told him, I'm not going to talk to you, you know, because he was, frankly, an asshole. But I said, I'm not going to talk to you. I think I'll speak to an attorney. And he looks at me and he says, if you ask for an attorney one more time, I'm going to stop this interview. And I'm going to arrest your girlfriend for 5 years for every weapon that's in your home, whether it's legal or not. That's like, what, 25 years, right? And we're going to take her away from her child, and her child's never going to see her again. And it'll be because you didn't cooperate with us. Okay. Well, I, of course, protested against him and said, well, guess what? I know that my fiancée is not a convicted felon. I know that for a fact. And he says, no, actually she is. She was arrested for cocaine, and I don't remember what year that was, but he did mention it. And it was before I ever met her. And she told me about that. Now the details around that was that it was her boyfriend's. She was arrested on it. And then she had to do, I believe, a probationary time, but there was nothing that ever came out of it. She left the boyfriend immediately after that, and never had anything to do with him again. He's also actually the father of her child, and he's currently in prison. So anyway, but you know, they called my punk card on it and said that she was a felon. And I got very nervous about it. So I said, okay, you know what? I didn't do nothing illegal. Let's talk. What do you want to know? And so that was the beginning of our wonderful relationship, him threatening me. Now, after this, he went to my mother's house. And this was days after. This wasn't that same night. This is days after. My mother is 68 years old, I believe. He looks at her and says, if you don't cooperate with us, Mr. Dyer, we'll make enough charges to put your son away for 40 years. Now think about this statement. Make enough charges to put your son away for 40 years. Now I'm being charged with failure to register a destructive device. Maximum sentence is 10 years. So how is he going to quote-unquote make enough charges to put me away for 40 years? Unless that's what he does, make stuff up. He took my mask and my speech whenever I was arrested. What either of those have to do with rape or having a grenade launcher, I'm not sure. But they did do it. They took my mask and a speech that I was working on. They made a C4 dog hit on my storage unit in town so that they could open it up and look at it without a warrant. What did they find inside? That's right, nothing at all, except for some old flight helmets of my grandfather's, his Capitol police badge, some things like that they ended up taking and giving back. He lied at my federal trial. Now, the whole reason that I had the federal charges come up on placed on me was because he signed the indictment saying that I admitted that I had a 40mm grenade launcher. Now when we got him on the stand, now this is what the indictment said, that I admitted to it. When we got him on the stand, he was asked 3 separate times in different ways, and that is a jackass. Okay, I'm back. I have to leave that in there. I'm not going to edit that out because it was so critically perfect. And you're right, Mr. Donkey. Agent Poole did make a jackass out of himself right on the stand in front of a federal jury. So he was asked 3 separate times by my attorney in different ways, did Mr. Dyer ever tell you that this was a 40mm? And he knew that it was a 40mm. No, he did not. He expressed each individual time that he thought that it was a 37mm. Now, after there were no more questions, the U.S. Attorney, Andre, mess his name up all the time, Caldwell, gets up there and you can tell the frustration on his face, and he's sitting here with a piece of paper. And he says, Agent Poole, I'm going to give you a piece of paper, and it's a report that you made, and see if this maybe jogs your memory. So he goes over and he approaches Agent Poole and he gives him this piece of paper, and here is Agent Poole's exact reaction. Don't believe me, go get the transcript. It's at the Oklahoma City 10th District Court. Alright? And if you want my case number, I will give it to you and you can get the transcript yourself. Agent Poole looks at it and says, oh, that's right. He did tell me that he thought it was a 40mm. Right. Nobody buys it, Poole. The jury didn't buy it. Nobody bought it. It was too late at that point. Once again, Mr. Donkey was right. What's the next thing that we're going to here? Lied at the federal trial. Oh yes, let's go to the state preliminary. Alright, at preliminary, they called him to testify about the grenade launcher again. Now, all through the federal trial, over and over they stated these certain facts. The grenade launcher was taken in 2006 from Fort Irwin, which is an Army base. The grenade launcher found it into the hands of a man in California who, through, I'm not exactly how he got it or what his affiliation with different groups were. It's possible that he was a weapons dealer or something. I don't know exactly everything. However, it was given to me by this individual. So, at the state preliminary hearing, this same FBI agent gets up there and he tells the judge that this grenade launcher came from Camp Pendleton, which is the base that I was at. This grenade launcher was never at Camp Pendleton. You can check the NCIC. I don't know if you can get a report of that or not. I'm sure I probably could if you didn't believe it. Anyway, it came from Camp Irwin, not Camp Pendleton, but he said it came from Camp Pendleton and that I had acquired it from a wall locker on Camp Pendleton. For those of you that are military out there, you know what a wall locker is. It's the personal space, basically a closet for military personnel in barracks. So there was just this grenade launcher just laying around in a wall locker that I picked up in Camp Pendleton. Wow. Not a far-fetched, right? Kind of, yeah. But anyway, the judge buys it. It allows the state to try to prosecute me on this. And I think that'll pretty much cover Mr. Poole. There's other things I won't get into right now. Other people that I won't get into right now. Certain things that affect my case that's going on at the moment, which, I would love to present, and I will very soon. Especially after we catch some more individuals lying on the stand, which they already have repeatedly. I want so bad to read transcripts to you, but I will in the next videos. Thank you for listening.